Hello there, and welcome to my review of the new Ibanez Premium Jem 77p-BFP. That's blue floral pattern. Now, this is a wonderful version of the famous Steve I Jem guitar series. It's been with us since 1987. When the Jem series was first released way back then, they were for many of us the coolest, sexiest guitars on the planet. And the shape was sublime, the body was a very aggressive, sharp contoured version of a super Strat. The colour schemes, in keeping with the 1980s and Steve Vai's flamboyant style, were pretty wild. We had a fluorescent pink, fluorescent yellow, fluorescent green models. Not only did they look amazing, but they were impeccably built. The necks were awesome. The wizard neck, as it's called. Now, the first 1987 models had a disappearing pyramid inlay on a maple fretboard, but in 1988 Ibanez introduced the now famous Tree of Life inlay pattern on rosewood fretboards. There was a pink Tree of Life on a shocking pink variant. There was a yellow Tree of Life on the desert yellow variant. Then they had a black variant and a famous floral pattern variant, both of which had green Tree of Life inlays on rosewood fretboards. Now, the floral pattern model back then had, the pattern was actually a piece of fabric that was laid on the body and then lacquered over. Anyway, they used the Tree of Life inlay pattern on many variants of the Jem since 1988 to the present day. Now, in 1991 Ibanez released a blue floral pattern model which had a blue Tree of Life inlay pattern on a maple fretboard. Now, that guitar was very cool looking, and they ran that model from 1991 to 1994. Now, the pattern on that body was actually a piece of fabric laid on the body and then lacquered over. And what we have today is essentially a reissue of that particular model. And I believe that the original model, which had the blue Tree of Life on a maple fretboard, is the only time Ibanez have ever put the Tree of Life inlay of any colour on a maple fretboard. That is, until this reissue's just come along. So, enter the new Jem 77p-BFP model, which is heavily based on the original blue floral pattern model. Now, there are some obvious styling differences. Firstly, the floral pattern is quite different. So we have larger flowers on this pattern compared to the original. And I believe the original had a piece of fabric on the body that was then lacquered over. I don't believe this is the case with this new reissue. It looks to me like it's some kind of print, maybe like a decal that's been put on the body and then lacquered over. It doesn't actually look like fabric, but I can't actually honestly be sure. The other obvious difference is that the blue is a little bit more vibrant on this reissue, which I think is actually quite a little bit cooler. So the plastics of the pickups and the tone controls, volume control and the selector switch are a little bit brighter. The paint, this printed pattern is a brighter blue, and I think that actually looks a bit cooler than the original. I am a huge Ibanez Jem fan, but because of quite expensive guitars, back in the 80s I could only really afford to have one, and I purchased a second-hand Jem 77 Desert Yellow model with the disappearing pyramid inlay, and I own that to this day. Absolutely awesome guitar, fantastic. I played it so much, but because of its increasing rarity and value, I don't play it so much anymore. I'm actually about to get it refretted, but I keep it in a case, and it doesn't really come out of the case very often. So anyway, because of that, I thought when I saw this come along at such an attractive price, I thought I'd thought I'd get one. So how much is it? Well, you can see on the internet this is going for, many places are selling it for over £1,000, maybe 1,050. But I got this from Anderton's for £960. I actually got it for a little bit less than that because it was an ex-demo version. So it's very, very competitively priced. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than the Japanese made gems. So yes, this is actually a Ibanez premium model, and so we can see, if you look at the headstock here, we have premium, and what that basically means is it's been made in Indonesia, in the Ibanez Indonesian factory, and not in the Japanese factory. So how does the quality compare to a Japanese made gem? Well, as an owner of an original 1980s gem, and having picked up quite a few Japanese made gems of subsequent models, I can say the quality of this is very nearly on a par with the proper Japanese made ones. There are a couple of very obvious differences. First of all, there's no scalloping on the top 4 frets. Now that obviously is one way to keep the manufacturing costs down. Obviously labour costs are going to be cheaper in Indonesia anyway, but not having to scallop out the top 4 frets is definitely a cutting of a corner that's going to save you some manufacturing time, and doesn't really impact too much on the playability. Not many guitars have only the top 4 frets scalloped, and not a lot of people complain about that. Would you miss it? Well, having an original gem that has the top 4 frets scalloped, yeah, it is kind of nice to be able to get your finger right under the string on the top 4 frets, but it's not a biggie really, is it? And the other obvious difference to the proper Japanese gems is we don't have a scarf joint. I'm not quite sure what this kind of neck joint is called, but you can see we've got this sort of bulging piece of wood here, and it's obviously that's where the headstock is attached, so you can sort of see that there. So that was another obviously notable difference. So let's go through some of the specs of the new Ibanez Jem 77p-BFP. Now the neck is a 5-piece maple stroke walnut neck. Now Ibanez have been using 5-piece neck construction for a considerable time on the gems, since the mid-1990s I believe. The early gems, like the Desert Yellow model that I have, is a single piece maple neck. Now the maple pieces in the 5-piece, they're all quarter sawn, which is a mark of fairly high quality. Inside the neck there is a titanium truss rod. Body is made of American basswood. Have a maple fretboard. Now the frets are jumbo frets, they're nickel frets, and they have this premium fret edge treatment. The bridge is an Edge 02 tremolo, which has got the microtuners tucked well away, and it's really good. The pickups are DiMarzio's. In the neck position and the bridge position we have the Gravity Storm humbuckers, and the middle pickup is the Evolution single coil. So here we see that we have the very standard 5-way selector switch and humbucker stroke single coil pickup configuration. You see this on many Super Strats, as well as all the gems. We've got a humbucker in the neck and bridge position and a single coil in the middle. When you put the 5-way selector all the way to the front, you get the front pickup in humbucking mode. If you put the 5-way selector in the middle, you get the single coil by itself. If you put the selector switch all the way back to the rear position, you get the bridge humbucker in humbucking mode. And if you put the selector switch in the in-between position to the front or to the back, you're either tapping the front pickup humbucker and putting it in parallel with the middle single coil, or if it's in the backwards in between position, you're going to be selecting one of the coils of the rear humbucker and putting that in parallel with the middle single coil. So what are the neck dimensions? Well, if you've ever picked up a Jem, you'll know that the necks are very thin and quite wide. The scale is 25.5 inch, like most Super Strat guitars. It's a 2-octave neck, we've got 24 frets. Now the width of the nut is 43 millimeters, and the width at the top fret is 58 millimeters. So that is quite a wide neck. And I must admit, my only complaint about the Jems, as much as I love them, is because my hands are quite small. I have a problem playing with my thumb over the neck in sort of blues hand position compared to other necks that are a little bit narrower. The thickness at the first fret is 18 millimeters, and the thickness at the 12th fret is 20 millimeters. So it is a very thin neck indeed. Now the radius is a constant radius neck, and it's 400 millimeters. There's absolutely no doubt that this Indonesian made reissue of an Ibanez Jem 77p-BFP is a seriously impressive, well made guitar. The quality is brilliant. If you place this next to a Japanese made Jem, you'd be hard pressed to see any noticeable differences in quality. This thing is absolutely fantastic. I've looked at it with a microscope and I can't find anything wrong with it at all, not even the slightest little imperfection. So I can't say that this quality is reproducible across the entire range of these guitars or production of these guitars, but certainly this example is perfect. It's brilliant. Once you've set it up, you can have a super low action if you want. I don't have a super low action personally. I like to have a sort of medium action because it's the best balance between playability and getting a good tone. It stays in tune wonderfully. This bridge is fantastic. They set these things up from the factory with a very light resistance on the tremolo, so it takes minimal effort to give it some serious vibrato with the tremolo, but it goes bang back in tune every time. Once you've set the intonation up for your gauge and manufacturer of strings, the intonation is perfect. I've checked it with tuners and what have you, and it's brilliant. No complaints there. The pickups are really good. They sound great. Yeah, so it is a seriously good guitar. Now the price of it, £1,000, like I said, that's more than half, or less than half, sorry, what the Japanese Jems cost. For £1,000 in today's guitar market, you should be expecting a serious guitar, especially given that there are manufacturers in countries where labour costs are slightly lower, turning out superb instruments. So you would expect to get a lot for your money these days for £1,000. I mean, I remember the day when the Japanese Jems were about £1,000, but that was 20 plus years ago. So yes, you expect a lot for £1,000 today, and you certainly get that with this guitar. So if you know what Jems are about and you're in the market for one, and maybe you were thinking of getting one of the Japanese made ones, well, you certainly could do worse than check out one of these Indonesian made premium Jems, because there's this floral pattern model, but they also do the sea green model as well. As always, I would recommend going into a guitar shop and trying the exact instrument you want to buy, because there could always be some issue with the particular instrument you wish to purchase. And if you've never played a Jem before as well, you certainly should go in and try it before you buy. Of course, in this modern internet era, you could buy mail order. the quality of these is such that I don't think you'll be disappointed with what arrives. But of course, if there are any issues, you could always send it back, I suppose. Anyway, that ends my video on the Ibanez Jem 77p-BFP. I'll be putting up more videos on guitar related stuff in the future, so thanks for watching, and over and out.